What's up, guys? Going to be trying out some of Ryan Gill's KnapEasy is what it's called. You can find this online at HuntPrimitive.com. I think they're just a few bucks each, and the more you get, I think it's a slight discount the more you get. But they have a couple different colors, and Ryan Gill seems like a great guy. I met him down at Silver River not long ago, and came up with kind of this formula to reproduce a really similar rock, if not just about exactly the same, with maybe slight variations here and there, for beginner nappers. And so I already started working on one of them just to kind of get a feel for what this is like. But what I want to do primarily in this video is maybe not make a full point, but just show you kind of what this rock is all about from somebody who naps all the time, give you kind of my, what I think about it. And I think this is really good for a couple reasons. Number one, it naps really well. Just for instance, you can take a small bopper, and on these little deltas, little raised areas, you can very easily kind of trim some material off and thin it out. And you can see it's got kind of a glassy look to it. So naps, what would be a good comparison? It naps like some of the most consistent coral I've ever napped. I don't know if that's a good comparison or not. Maybe, I don't really know. That's primarily what I work, but then again, most of the people who work coral aren't going to work like the most consistent stuff in the world. No, but this is going to be, I think, a lot better, certainly for beginners, and I'll show you why here in a little bit. Just kind of give you a couple demonstration strikes here. And from what I know, he's able to produce these, or mass produce these, not necessarily by the thousands, but he can spit out quite a few a day. And I think this is a really cool idea for folks who are just getting into it, to kind of get a feel for how this stuff works. Get maybe a feel for basic flint knapping tools, and not feel like you're wasting material either. But I know that when I grew up flint knapping a few years ago, I would always make the points that I grew up finding in a field. So something this size, you find a lot of these in the field. What I would do is just mimic the points that I found down in the field. So if you're just getting started, maybe you can look up, maybe you found something out in the field before that you want to try to mimic or replicate. Let's see, that flake just glides right across. Or maybe you just want to get the feel for it. You never tried it. You want a cheap option. Or you just don't want to waste materials. Or maybe you're going to create an arrowhead to go hunting with. I think this is a good option. And I'm not just saying that early on as I expected to say this, but no, I worked the other piece, and I can tell just by this that it flakes very well. You may have, again, small little inconsistencies. Here there's a tiny little inconsistency there from where kind of this area has been peeling off. And that's not a big deal. No, but really, really cool stuff. Now, I want to shift really quick to a piece that I haven't worked, this one. You'll notice it's got a boat shape. So for somebody who is a complete beginner, never worked this before, I want to share with you how I would attack this in making an arrowhead. So I love the way he designed it for a couple reasons. Number one, you try to first find your center line, which is going to be around here. And you already know you need to take off, you know, the low areas, which this is a low area here. Center line's here, this is below center line. And there's a little boat area. You don't want a boat area, you want a flat area. So you have to flatten this out to where it looks like that along the center line. But since this is so low, you can drive backwards or across to get that low area out. And you can do that from the back as well. I think this is a really good platform to hit and to strike this way to kind of catch this lip, to flatten it out like we've already done up here, to shoot across there, right here. All right. To shoot across here from that direction. And you still got a little bit of the lip here. We can catch that from two ways, but I think the best way will be from here. You know, I always like to, but I'll show you. Usually you catch it from here, a little high area, you just catch it from here. Like right there, and smack it. But you can also, if you're trying to preserve a little bit of the, now that's interesting. I wasn't expecting to see that. I'll mention something in a moment. You can also kind of glide the base off by running this ridge. No ridge here, but running literally the back edge. That's just another way to do it since it kind of rounds up. Yeah, well, it worked. See how it ran the ridge? So this second one might not work, but yeah, it did okay. Then you can come back and clean it up if you need to. Now, what I was intrigued about is there's a really dark spot there. I was wondering if that was a bit of crud, but it looks like that can be napped through. Yeah, that's no problem. That's nothing. Again, we still have a boat area. It's like a cup. We gotta get rid of the cup. And we can come from this direction, or we can come from this top direction. Now, thinking about the base, this is a bit wider down here, a little bit more nuanced here. Now we could flip it over and say this could be our base, but then we wouldn't want this to be our tip if we try to make a triangle with our fingers here. You know, don't want to, you know, the best way to do it to conserve width is going to be to have this to be the base. And so I think we can get rid of this, use this chunk area to drive off this lip. Now, it's already set up, but it looks like, you know, every aspect of this stone will be a little bit different. I can't remember if that lip was still on there with some of the other ones or not. Let's see. I can't really tell. Let's see. Oh, it actually was, okay. So kind of some of the same little indentation there. All right, but if we take this piece, I think the point of this is to strike above here, because beginners, they're trying to learn, you know, hand-eye coordination, and they're just going to strike right there. But as for me, I usually try to catch the edge, and there's just enough there for someone like me to try to come in and catch. Just that itty bitty. Now, if you hit up here, let's say you do, okay. Well, that's gonna set up another platform to run back. So I think this is very beginner friendly. And just really neat stuff in general. Yeah, it looks to be a little bit of blue in here too. A little bit of variation. Looks like pinhead kind of. With all the swirls. Pinhead with the swirls. All right, now there is a little pocket there. I bet you that was just a little bubble, because it looks like it gets right back into where it needs to, right under there. And honestly, even if there are a couple of little oddities to it, I'm gonna switch to a little bit bigger bopper. That'll just mimic all this other stone that's very inconsistent. Coral can be very inconsistent. You know, on this side, coral may look really smooth. On this side, oh man, you got a whole bunch of stuff. You just never know. See if we can plow through it here. Not quite. Yeah, we were able to, okay. Took a second strike. So that right there, you can work on undercutting it. Getting some practice in. There are a number of ways to undercut little oddities in stone. I would highly suggest to abrade a lot. And even if, say, something like this doesn't work out, you can always, by the way, it is sharp. You can always catch it from a number of different directions. All right. Now, to remove a mass like this, you know, if you just keep banging, let's say you get a turtle back, again, a number of ways to get this off. First way to do it is to trim off the side, get our center line back normal, because this is hanging kind of low. All right. Probably have to do that anyways, because there's this kind of line here, and that kind of gives you a visual aid as to where you need to shoot past. I don't know why that's, I imagine that's just how the material is. That's just a microcosm of having it. Not sure if there's anything specific behind it. Maybe there is. But still a number of ways to get to little ridges. That's kind of the beauty of a stone like this. That is kind of a platform where you can kind of shoot back into it. And say you hinge out kind of like that. And just raise a platform up and attack it a different way. If you get another hinge, find another way to attack it. And this stuff is really smooth. It works really, really well. It's hard to say anything bad about it, knowing the audience that it's geared toward. But as for me, and maybe even for any of you who have been napping for quite some time and you just want a little change and try something a little different, then this is worthwhile. Now, this isn't a sponsored video or anything. Ryan was just kind enough to hand over a couple of these at the Silver River Nap In, and you know, I was excited to be able to share this with you guys because the potential for this is really, really great. And you know, there's always that, oh well, if I had that stone, I'm sure I could have made that, or if I had a huge blah 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 blah, I could do X, Y, Z. Well, now you can kind of start on the same basis, and maybe, you know, some groups can pop up around, you know, this material and talk about ways to attack, and I think it can be a good thing. and it just blew right over. But anyways, we'll probably end it here. Excuse the background noise. By the way, the kiln's running in the background. That's, if you hear any clicking as well, it's just the kiln. But neat looking stuff. Big thanks to Ryan for letting me try it out, and go to HuntPrimitive.com if you want some. And by the way, speaking of wanting anything, all these flakes down here of coral, coastal, I've actually got a little obsidian I've been working because of a contest, and I just got a ton of flakes I got to get rid of. So if you want some flakes, email me at gulfcoastknapping@gmail.com. Usually I do medium flat rate boxes for 65 bucks and get a ton of flakes. But I also got a ton of really high quality coral flakes over here that I'm just not going to use. Too small for me, and I'll probably do like 75 on those for a medium box. But feel free, message me, and get up with Ryan Gill for this particular kind of rock. Really slick, really consistent, great practice. And even for guys like me who work a lot of larger stone, it gives us a little reality check that, hey, you know, we can work on stuff like this too and make a really, really nice point. I don't think I have a measuring tape here, but nonetheless, if you're interested, go check these out. Hit up old Ryan, and yeah, show me what you make. Send it to my email. I'll be happy to see it. All right, guys, take care.